Good morning
Yeah,
all, and welcome to our first SUG Kolkata session for 2026. Um, I We have Arvind Gelot today with us. Um, he is Sitecore MVP. I believe that in Sitecore Network we all know him. He is Sitecore MVP and solution architect from Horizontal, and he will guide us today on the Sitecore Agentic Studio. He'll give us the overview on that. Uh, Over to you, Arvind.
thank you. And hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, we are going to talk about Sitecore AI Agentic Studio, both how to build and configure agents if you are on technical side, and why this matters for marketing team who wants AI to do repetitive on-brand work. We'll focus on creating agents and go deep on 4 things that really makes the difference, like context parameters, agent schema, HTML templates, and workflows. Everything we cover is based on Sitecore documentation and real agent examples. Uh, those examples are right now there as well, so we can try those inbuilt agents. Before starting, for those who don't know me, allow me to briefly introduce myself. While Kaushik has already shared few words, I would like to add a bit more. I'm Arvind Gehlot, an IT professional with over 18 years of industry experience, currently based in Minnesota, United States. Over the course of my career, I have held diverse roles from developers to project manager, eventually advancing in my current role as technology lead and solution architect. Beyond my professional responsibilities, I actively maintain technical blog posts and remain deeply engaged with the broader technology community. I currently serve as Senior Technology Lead at Horizontal Digital USA. Here is the plan for the session. We will start with what Agentic Studio is, and a quick pass over the main terms. Then we'll look at the 5 building blocks of an agent: overview, context parameters, schemas, HTML templates, and workflows. The heart of the talk is the next 4 slides: why context parameter matters, how agent schema structure your output, how HTML templates present it, and how workflows and flows orchestrate the steps. We will tie it together with a real life example. Most of our time will be on the context, schema, templates, workflows, because those are what you actually configure when you create or customize the agent. So what is Agentic Studio? Think of it as Sitecore AI's dedicated workspace for designing, deploying, and managing AI agents and the workflows they run. It's not a chatbot builder or a single prompt box. It is governed environment where AI can reason, take action, and work alongside human inside Sitecore itself. In one line, it is where AI stops just suggesting and actually executes those suggestions. For marketers or marketing, that means you can delegate brief content and research while keeping your brand and context in one place. For technical folks, it is where you configure agent with context, schemas, templates, workflows, and run them in parallel or in sequence. You get to it from the main navigation by clicking agentic or the AI icon in the top right, and you see uh, you see the relevant features available. But you need Steam. If you're already aware of Sitecore Stream, that streams should be enabled uh, within your subscription. If that is not set up yet, then that's the first thing that we need to do in Cloud Portal. A few terms you will hear throughout: an agent, which is the main task or task-specific AI worker that can set goals, make decisions, use context, and take action in the platform. A flow, which is a multi-step workflow that chains several agents together. For example, research, then brief, then create, and then save. This is how we can tie up all tasks together in workflow. Then we have signals. So signals are AI generated market and industry insight you can feed in as context. So those can be used within the context itself. Then we have spaces. Spaces are where you see all your agent and flow runs. You can filter, review, reuse outputs by campaign and initiatives. So once that agent execution is done, the history and the entire output, you can find it into the spaces. So we'll have a look in demo section. Then we have actions, which is the chat style interface where you ask the AI for help and it can pick the right agent or flow for you. And then context, which is the combination of brand knowledge, organization guidelines, and context parameter. What you attach, so agent behaves the way you want. We'll go deeper on the context parameter, schemas, HTML templates, and workflows in next few slides. So when you create or configure an agent in Agentic Studio, you work with 5 main areas. First is the overview. Overview is where you set the name, description, getting started text, and the input that user will provide when they run the agent. Things like URL, topic, brief, or the purpose of that agent. That all information we put into the overview section of the agent creation wizard. Then we have context parameter. Those are like structural or structured variables like brand, scope, or access mode that shape how the agent behaves. Like we can add some additional parameters and we can allow whoever is triggering that agent, we can allow that user to select those context parameter and accordingly the content can be generated. Then we have schema. Schema define the structure of the agent's output in JSON, something like scores, sections, tables. So every run produce a consistent shape. And how this JSON can be used, we can see that once we define the schema of the output, the agent will generate the output following that schema, and then that schema can be used for further utilization. In our case, Sitecore Agent Studio case, once the output is generated, we can push the generated output in a schema format to Sitecore CMS itself. So that was the new feature that recently introduced by Sitecore. We can see in the demo that how this can be done. And then we have HTML templates where we can control that how the output will be formatted and presented to the end user using that structure output or using the schema that we have already provided. And at the end, we have workflow, which is a sequence of steps the agent runs. For example, initialize, then get schema, compose the prompt, generate content, and after generation, save the content so that it can be used in next further action or next agent. Few pre-built agents like blog writer, brief generator already have all these configured. But custom agents are where we define these ourselves for our code or for our use cases. The next 4 slides will discuss about these context parameter schema, HTML outputs. So everything will cover that up in next few slides. By default, agent don't know your tone of voice, brand guidelines, or business context. Context parameter are how you inject the knowledge and control behavior. They gave the workflow structure input. It can use, for example, audit areas or context so the agent knows what to focus on. They also drive conditional logic. For instance, you might have the parameter that says use the live context versus use attached export, and the workflow branches based on what we are providing as an input. And they help you keep secret and environment specific detail out of the prompt. So prompt is publicly available. I have full control on the prompt. We can provide any kind of prompt, but generally it is not suggested to keep all those secrets and environment specific variables or environment specific values within the prompt itself. So what is the best way where we can keep it? In that case, we can say that we can push this behind the scene using context, and that can be taken care within the agent itself. So it won't be visible to the end user, but it's still being used while generating the content by AI. We can also mask parameters, like whether it is required or optional, or we can validate it. In practice, you might add parameters for brand and campaign, like tone, audiences, campaign name, or for technical scope like Sitecore platforms, like solution architect, or architecture and audit areas. For governance, you might add something like prefer attached exports and do not store secrets. The uh, best approach is to define these all agent related configuration and then reference them in your workflow steps. Without good context parameter, output stays very generic and hard to be trusted. So it is always advisable to pass proper context, proper schema, so that will get the proper output aligned with those schemas and the HTML tag. Then we have schema. Schema is basically a contract for your agent's structured output, usually JSON. It defines the required field, data types, enum, and descriptions so that the model and the rest of the workflow know exactly what to produce. That gives you three big benefits. First, consistent report. Every run has the same section and scores, like an executive summary and weighted summary. Second is structured data that is easy to save and also integrate with other systems and feed them HTML templates. So I already mentioned that once we have the structured output, we can easily integrate with any third-party system via API integration. And the same concept is being used to push the content generated by agents to CMS. And that will check in the demo section. The third is the validation. The model's output is constructed or constrained to your schema. So score stays between 0 and 10, and enum says things like high, medium, low. These all can be controlled via parameters. So validation is also very important, and that can be defined using the schema. In real life, agents like AEO, SEO auditors, you will see top level sections such as executive summary, technical and structural SEO, content quality, semantic signals, and brand authority. Optimization as well, opportunities and citation forecast, weighted summary, and overall recommendation. Each section typically has a score, array of finding, and recommendation, and maybe some domain specific fields. In the agent JSON, the schema live in the schemas array, and the general context action reference them via structure schema variable or JSON schema. If you are building an audit agent, it helps to design the report structure, section, and scores on paper first, then encode it as the JSON schema. So the output will be generated, as I mentioned, the output will be generated in two formatted. One is JSON format if we define the schema. If we are not defining the schema, then you'll get the output in very generic form. And then the second thing is the next one, which is the HTML template, where we can give the presentation to a structured schema. So HTML templates are what turns the schema-based JSON output into a readable report or preview that people can actually use inside Agentic Studio. You define a single HTML document with the placeholders that map to your schema fields. For example, the executive summary, overall score, and those weighted summary and total scores. So those fields will be defined in schema, but once those fields are defined in schema, that can be used in the HTML template. So once the output is generated, those fields will be replaced with the actual value which is generated by Agentic Studio. Uh, you can also add conditional logics and loops, like iterating over the findings arrays or only showing a section if it is present. For marketers, this is what make the output presentation to the stakeholders or shareable on brand report without opening raw JSON. In practice, audit and reports agents often have the executive summary at the top, then section of technical content, then table for optimizations or optimization opportunities, and citation forecast, and finally overall recommendation. So typically we have one template per agent, um, or report type, and the workflow save or preview step combine the template with the generated JSON. So if the agent is properly configured, you'll get both output in one go. So the key is to keep template aligned with your schema. Same property name so that the placeholders line up, and you can find sample templates in community articles like the Sitecore Solution Agent and the copy paste term into the HTML template tab. So few build agents are configured with schemas and HTML templates, and we can take those templates as reference so that whenever we are creating our own agent, we can take a reference of those schemas and HTML template, and we can build our own schema and templates in our new agent. Then we have the workflow. The workflow are the sequence of steps or the actions that an agent runs. So workflows are when you connect multiple agents. So the workflow is a part of agent itself, but flow is completely different section in Sitecore Agentic Studio. And flows are like when you connect multiple agents. So each step build on the previous one, like researcher, then brief generator, then content generator, then save. So suppose we have multiple agents, and if we want to line up those agents in sequence so that the output of one agent become the input of another agent, This is how the flows works, and we can define the sequence of those agents within the flow itself. And the single prompt AI tend to break when the work span multiple span, different system or human checkpoints. Agentic Studio is built for the long running outcome oriented work with orchestration, state visibility, and governance. And that should be achieved, that can be achieved using flows. In a typical agent, you will see 6 kind of actions, like initialize flow that sets up the run. Then we have get structured schema, which loads the output schema so that LLM knows what shape to produce. Then we have compose message that builds the prompt from the message template, the user's message, and the context. So compose message action can be used to combine all 3 kind of input, which is like prompt, message template, and the user messaging, which is actually the prompt and the context parameters. And then we have the main action, which is generate content. So this calls the model with the JSON schema and produces the structured output. Then we have save document, which used to persist that generated data or the content item that we got out of the LLM. And the final step is the workflow and makes the run complete. You can go further, add a human approval step or a research step that calls another agent, then generate and save. So flows can run agent in parallel or in sequence so that one agent's output become the next one's input. The classic flow is research, then brief, then create, then save. So we'll look at those in next couple of slides. Here is the concrete example that ties everything together. So I have created one agent, which is actually based on another agent. We'll talk about that another agent, which is being used to create this agent. This agent is web accessibility report. I created that agent uh, to get to know more insight about the accessibility of the application. So this agent runs and it generates a report and forecast. Depending on your site, it forecasts that, okay, what kind of accessibility level it is comply with, like level A, double A, or triple A. So this agent was created to generate that kind of output. You can add optional context parameter for things like target conformance level, like what is the acceptable conformance level, or extend with the brand and accessibility policy context. The schema includes an executive summary and overall score, citation readiness, key observation, and quick wins, then section for technical and structural accessibility. So I hope this is an example I put, but for the sake of this demo and to keep everything simple, I created Hello World agent, which will be easier to understand. This is a bit complex agent I have created, but I have created another Hello World kind of agent, which is easy to understand for the beginners. So we'll go further on that. The next is, I already mentioned, this is the pre-built researcher agent, AEO SEO researcher agent, which is already there, already pre-built by Sitecore itself, that follows the same pattern. The user provides a topic or URL, and the agent runs keyword and AEO SEO's research and return the structural audit, discoverability, authority, GEO, optimization opportunity, and citation form forecast. So all these are been there, but in this case, it is the context is SEO, not the accessibility. The workflow is same: initialize, get schema, compose with uh, SEO audit instruction, generate JSON, save, and end. For marketing, this gives you a repeatable SEO and AEO audits with a consistent structure, so you can compare over the time. Uh, and for technical folks, the schema and compose message template define exactly what the model must output, and you can extend with more context parameter and steps as needed. Flows. So So this is actually a multi-agent flow that marketing team use a lot, like campaigns from brief to content. Step one is the researcher or market signals, gather insight on topic and audiences. Step two is the brief generator. It produces a structural brief using the research plus context parameter like brand and campaign name. Step three is the content generator or a blog writer or email writer or creator that first draft from the brief. Step four is save, and optionally you can add a human approval step before that. So flows, as I already mentioned, this is multi-agent sequence that can be defined. So all agents can be clubbed, or we can use all generated agents in a such a sequence that it gives a meaningful output to the business. Why use a flow instead of one big agent? That could be the question. Like, we have agent, then why we need flow? So again, I mentioned, when we have big thing, agent is focusing on one thing that needs to be done. But when we talk about having a complex project or having a complex solution to generate, we may need multiple agents. And then the flows comes into the picture. In flows, we can define that in one step we want this particular agent, in second step we need another agent, in third step we need another agent. So output of one agent become the first input of first second agent. So we can create that chain so that we'll get all the specifications or specialization of each agent, and finally we'll get the polished output from the flows. So the rule of thumb is use flows when the jobs has clear stages, something like research, plan, create, approve, then publish. Use a single agent when the job is one focused task, like one audit or one report. So the quick recap of what we have covered: for context parameter, define them for anything that should control or scope the agent, like brand, platform, access mode, audit areas, and don't put secret in prompts. For schema, design the output shape first and reuse patterns like executive summary plus section scores plus recommendation across agents, so you get consistency. For HTML template, keep them aligned with the schemas and use one per report type, so you get a consistent shareable preview. For workflow, start simple with initialize, compose, generate, save, then add get structure schema, approval, or research tab as you need them. For flows, use them when work is multi-stage and keep each agent focused on one job. And don't forget signals and brand. Configure your signals by topic and industries with the brand knowledge, so the agent automatically get relevant market and brand context. If you want to go deeper on any of these, we can do further session on going deeper into these all terminologies. To wrap, Agentic Studio is a workspace where agent and flows run long-running governed AI work. Creating agents comes down to the context parameter for behavior and scope, schema for output structure, HTML templates for presentation, and workflow for the steps. Flows orchestrate multi-step and multi-agent process, and spaces and signals give you a visibility and context. For the next step, I would suggest three things. First, try running a pre-built agent like the brief generator and researcher with add context and your brand knowledge and see how the output changes. Then second thing would be like build one custom agent, maybe an internal audit report with context parameter, one schema, one HTML, and the simple workflow. The third is scale by combining agent into a flow for a full campaign or audit pipeline. The slide has main documentation links. Working with Agentic Studio and understanding agents. So you can just go through the same Sitecore Agentic Studio documentation, and you should be able to get all these terms within the documentation site itself. Now, time to get on demo. I hope everything is going good so far. Then we can switch to the demo. Kaushik, I hope all are with me.
Yes.
Okay. Let me open the just a second. Logging into the cloud portal. I hope you can see the cloud portal, right? And within the cloud portal, you can see the Agentic Studio.
Yes.
Just a second. It's a multi-screen mode, so yeah. So here's the Agentic Studio dashboard or landing page where you can see multiple agents, flows, signals. We all talked about briefly, but our main stuff is here in agents. As I mentioned, there are a few pre-built agents here. So if you can see down, these all agents are provided or pre-built within the cloud portal and built by Sitecore itself. You can see here. So these agents can be used, but for practical use case, in we have to create our own agent to fulfill our need. And for the same purpose, I created my own agents here. If you can see, those are created by my account. And few of them are the copied version of these agents, but few are brand new. So first we'll go through how we can use the pre-build or how we can use already created agents. And once that report is, once the output is generated, we can find it under the spaces. So we'll go ahead and we'll check that how this would run. So in our presentation, I have gone through briefly about this agent. So if you want to trigger this agent, I'm just clicking on it and it is asking to provide me uh, any idea or URL uh, for research. So we can give any URL so that it can research, apply the research for that URL and generate the output. So I'm putting this and hitting the start button and it will start generating the content. And then we'll go through each tab that we discussed about, like overview, context parameters, schemas, templates, and how that can influence the final output. It may take some time, but yeah. So once report is generated, you can see that now it is switched to spaces, and here the report is generated. So if I click on it, you can see this nicely generated output where we can see that all SEO related information, like where should we improve, what are the impact, high, medium, low, and what are the areas that we should look for improving the SEO structure of the page. It follows everything like we discussed about get schema, compose message, generate, and save. These are the steps in workflow itself. So we'll go through it, how it can be used. So for the simplicity purpose, we can go to a very easy hello world example. So to edit existing one, we just need to click on these ellipsis button and click edit. Otherwise, if you want to create a new brand new agent, we have the button here to create a new brand new agent. I have created this agent, so I'm just editing it, and you can see that here are a few things like basic information. What is the name of your agent? What is the description of that agent? Then what is the purpose of it, like title, what is it for, how it works. So these are the basic information about the agent. So we are in the overview tag, and overview defines the basic things for the agent. And now if we scroll down, we have some input parameters. So when we trigger agent, it asks us to provide the URL, how we can generate that. So that is the input parameters we need to set. For hello world, we have a prompt like input where the user can type anything, and then we'll see that what kind of output it generates. So it has multiple options, like we have the prompt where we can give a description of the problem that we want to solve. It is the same prompt we are using in AI world. We have the context. When we are saying context, it allows us to select any generated report or select any uh, inbuilt uh, inbuilt documents or providers or brand documents. So those can be uh, taken care by context. Then we have file upload where we can upload our own document, and that document will become the context of the agent. And then we have a drop down and checklist. I tried all three. Those are absolutely working fine. I try to use drop down and checkbox. However, these options are not working for me. I'm still finding out why it is not working and what could be the best utilization of it. But these two types I haven't used because those are not working for me. So this is the overview section. Then we'll go to the next section, which is the schema, which is the instruction, like what additional input parameters we can pass. So these are some additional input. When we trigger this agent, it will ask us to provide the gender selection. So that is an additional input parameters we can define here. Then we have schemas. We discussed about the importance of schema. So it defined the output of the structural output of the output of agent. So yeah, so whatever is generated by agent, that can be structured into the JSON, and these are the attributes like name, profession, and specialization. So it will generate output in this structure schema. And then we have HTML templates. So if you see the HTML templates, it is simple HTML page where we can have any kind of HTML elements. And then we have the variables, which is the schema variables. So these are the same variables defined here. And name, profession, and specialization. And this is how we can use in tokenized way in the HTML template itself. So generated output will be in the JSON, and then those fields will get replaced to generate the final output in HTML. And then workflow to stitch everything what we have configured so far. So if you can see here in workflow, we add the get structured schema where it extract the information that's set in the input parameters. If you can click on it, you'll get additional details here, like the output variable is structure schema, and what are the HTML templates and additional information. So we just need to set these output parameters depending on our use cases. Then we discussed about compose message, where it get the structural schema, it combine all the input parameters in the compose message, where we are seeing that here we are using the previous steps output parameter as input parameter for compose message. So if you can see here, input variable name, and this is the research content and analysis result. And then we have given the output variable name, which is the output message. And that output message will be used in the next step as input parameter. And here the message template and system prompt, here I talked about that we can provide the additional contextual information here, and we can keep all those secrets, or something like in Sitecore word we use connection string. We want to use that connection string secret. The similar kind of, like if we are calling any kind of API and that we need to pass the bearer token or user credentials, we can keep those user credentials here so that it will not be visible to the end user, but we can still pass that information to generate the output. So that is the compose message. Next is the generate content, which is actually collecting all information from previous parameters that we store in the compose message. So if you can see here, the output variable name is compose message, and that compose message is being used as input parameter for generate content. And then we have some additional information like additional system prompt we can add. What kind of model? So we have two model here, fast and expert. We can make changes as per the agent behavior. And we also define that what should be the structure schema. So we have given the structural schema in this section, and then the HTML template that we have already defined here. So that HTML template we have selected to generate the final output. And then we are saving the overall generated output somewhere in the context itself so that it can be used later. So this is the overall simple hello world kind of um, workflows of agent. And then we can see that how when we execute itself, how it looks like. So I'm going back to trigger this agent. Here is the hello world and I'm triggering it. So if you can see here, this is the prompt. I can put my name here. I can select the gender, which is the context parameter that we set. And once it is set, I click on start, and rest all being already taken care by these steps that we have configured here. So it will automatically takes the context parameters, schemas. It will generate the output in this schema and then generate the output in this HTML format once the agent work is done. Let's see how it generates the report. Don't know why it is taking this much of time. Usually it is quick. Okay, rather than waiting, I have already tested it, and let's go to that report, something like where it is. Yeah, here it is. So from spaces, I'm opening this particular instance, and this is how the result will be generated. So if you can see here, it generates name, profession, specialization that I asked for, covering the JSON that covers profession and specialization. This is the JSON, and this is the final preview, like name, profession, and specialization. So this is the HTML covering the HTML part of it, and this is the JSON structure, or these are the JSON fields that we have defined here. We define the name, profession, and specialization, the same name, profession, and specialization. And this is the overall JSON schema where everything is there. Like if you can see here, the HTML template, the individual field like name, profession, specialization. And then once this is generated, you can use the convert. So what convert will do, it will ask you to select the collection inside. And so once you select it, you will connect to the collection of XM Cloud or CMS, the sites available into those collections, and then you can select the template. And then in final step, currently there is no template, but once a template is selected, what it will do, it will convert this output into the Sitecore item itself. So it's a complete flow, like generating the content from Agentic Studio and put that content into Sitecore CMS as an item, and then it can be used anywhere. I know we are a little overrun as per the schedule, but this is what as per the today's session. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can reach out anytime, and we can go more deeper. Maybe if we can whenever I'm ready, we can define, we can schedule another session where we'll go deeper on the other part of it. As I mentioned, that is a hello world kind of um, overview where we are having just few most generic, most general actions, but we have a lot more actions available. So these are the available actions we can use. So we have some if and else kind of uh, operations. We have for loop, go to actions. So all kind of actions are already there. And I have already started looking into it. Maybe in next session, we'll cover uh, these actions in more details. That's it
Well,
from my side. Over to you, Kaushik.
thank you, Arvind. I can see a couple of questions from Vipin in the chat. Uh, can input be a trigger? Can a publish action start the agent? You can see in the chat also. It is saying that can input be a trigger? Vipin, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi, Kaushik. Good morning. Hi, Arvind. Good evening.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, like when you are setting up this workflow, the workflow is starting with a manual trigger. Can it be a automatic trigger? Let's suppose if we like upload a file somewhere, or if we like do a publish event, so that can trigger this workflow. Is that possible?
Uh, I haven't figured that out yet. I never think of it, but yeah, it should be there. I mean, there is currently, if you can see here in the workflow, it is manual trigger. I don't
Yeah, that's
see
true.
to automate it. Maybe there could be some triggering point. I can
Mhm.
see in the actions if those actions are available.
Yeah.
I'm not very sure right now whether it is available or not. I can see that. No, I don't see right now. So probably I think currently it is manual only.
Yeah, maybe in the next release or in future release.
Yeah, it keep on updating. I mean, when I was I started exploring this Agentic Studio, the UI was completely different. And recently they
Mhm.
made change into the UI itself. So yeah, they keep on
I know
working
that
on it.
this workflow feature is very nice. I mean, using the UI to
Yeah,
set steps. Mhm.
right.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's all,
Yeah,
Kaushik. Thank you.
yeah. Really nice. Good question. I'll also start exploring how we can automate it if it can be.
Thank you, Vipin. Anyone else have any question?
If not, feel
Right.
free to reach out anytime. I'm available over the Slack and LinkedIn.
Yes. Thank you. So I believe that's all for today. Thank you, Arvind, for the insightful session. And thank you all for joining us today morning, Saturday morning. Uh, so thank you very much. We'll meet you soon
Thank
in
you,
the
everyone.
in our next session. Okay. Bye.
Certainly,
Thanks,
yes.
everyone.
Thank you. Good day.